I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's a double MD, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels, here with my top 25 favorite wrestling tag teams of all time. And with SummerSlam right around the corner, actually it's tomorrow by the time this video goes live, I decided to do another wrestling tier list. I've only done one other wrestling tier list so far on this channel. This isn't a wrestling YouTube channel, but wrestling's a big part of my life. Big wrestling fan. So I wanted to do another tier list, and SummerSlam is effectively the second biggest WWE wrestling event. I don't want to say just wrestling event, because there's other big wrestling events, but the second biggest WWE wrestling event of the year. Obviously WrestleMania being number one, which we did a tier list during WrestleMania. We did the top 25 favorite wrestlers of all time. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link to that video in the description below. But before we get started, a couple disclaimers. Number one, I wanted to quickly mention, I mentioned this in the top 25 favorite wrestlers video as well, that just kind of explaining kind of when I became a fan of wrestling, just because it kind of reflects my list a little bit, because there's going to be some teams that are maybe ranked lower or ranked not ranked at all that should be if you're someone who loved wrestling in the 80s or the 70s, etc. I started watching wrestling about 1997, 1998 during the Attitude Era. So obviously this list is going to be heavily influenced by that time period as well as current time period and everything in between. Everything before that, obviously there's going to be a couple tag teams from older generations on my list here. But I don't have that connection quite like I have with the rest of these teams. Watching, wrestlers or tag teams in their prime, and storylines of following the whole thing through, feeling that emotion during these matches, it hits a lot differently than going back and watching, a pay-per-view from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, where you may already even know the result of the match just because you've heard people talk about it. It doesn't quite feel the same, right? So I just wanted to put that out there. Number two, this isn't me saying these are the top 25 tag teams of all time. These are just my personal favorites. I'm also going to list my favorite moments / matches from these tag teams. So if you're curious, if you've never seen these matches before, or just curious to see maybe potentially some of these tag teams' favorite best match, not favorite match, but their best matches, I'll let you know what they are, and then you can go look them up yourself. Find them on YouTube, Daily Motion, or on the WWE Network for some of these, if you will. Now, not all these are WWE or WWF tag teams. There are some that are from other various promotions, but we'll get into it. We'll start with number one, which is kind of a thrown together tag team. And pretty much, there's maybe one other tag team, maybe two other tag teams you could argue that were thrown together tag teams on this list. I try to stray away from that a bit because when I think of tag teams that are very successful, I think of very long-lasting tag teams. Maybe they've been a tag team for a very long time, or they started off as a tag team in a lot of cases. But I just really enjoyed this pairing, and that is, of course, Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan, and Kane. Now, obviously, these guys had so much chemistry together, such a great storyline. My favorite segment from them was probably their anger management stuff that they had to do with Dr. Shelby, I believe his name was. But their favorite match actually isn't just a normal tag team match. I try to stray away again from six-man or any type of matches like that, but in this case, I had to include this one because my favorite match of theirs is teaming with a guy named Ryback, if you remember that guy, against The Shield at TLC 2012. This is actually The Shield's debut match. Now, I will say, by the way, because I just wanted to quickly mention this, I love The Shield. One of my favorite factions in wrestling history. I didn't include The Shield on this list. Now, I don't really consider them a standard tag team, and there will be another tag team on here, and this might be a slight spoiler, and there'll be slight spoilers throughout the video here. There might be another trio on this list, but they're more of a tag team. The Shield were more of a faction, not so much a tag team. Granted, maybe I could have included Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins on here, or Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins on here, but I didn't want to do that because I don't really feel like they're standalone like Roman and Seth, the best, one of the best tag teams of all time. I couldn't do it. But I did want to give a good shout out to the Shield. But this match was incredible. Great match. So if you've never seen it, I'm sure you have if you're a wrestling fan. But if you haven't, definitely check it out. So that's number 25. Number 24. Now this, again, is going to hurt some people's feelings. And I'm sorry. Incredible tag team. Great history. Again, an older tag team. I haven't seen too many of their matches until I was in my 20s, and there's going to be a lot of, not a lot, there's going to be a couple of tag teams on this list that kind of fit that bill where I haven't really watched a lot of their matches. Again, I didn't, watch them as they were in their prime. I watched them later on, knowing some of the results already, and they're great matches from a match standpoint, technical standpoint, incredible matches. But I just don't have that connection with them like I do with some of these other teams. And that's of course going to be a team full of heart, the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Great tag team, like I said. Technical, potentially the best, if not one of the best tag teams of all time, depending on who you ask. I know a lot of people consider them to be the best tag team of all time, and that's perfectly fine. They very well might be. But again, just kind of as I explained, I never really seen any of these matches when I was a kid. I was like 20, in my 20s. So you're talking like 10 years ago, maybe. I saw my first like Hart Foundation match. And I've gone back and watched several of them because I've gone back and watched the majority of like WWE, WWF pay-per-views that I missed, because I wasn't alive yet for some cases, but I also didn't start watching wrestling until I guess I was 7 or 8, which was around 97, 98. So I have seen several of their matches. But one of my favorite matches from them was actually, and this is very appropriate actually, it's from the very first SummerSlam, and it's against Demolition in 1988 for the WWF World Tag Titles. Very incredible match. Definitely check it out. If you have the network, if you have Peacock, I would recommend checking it out. Another one is another team that's older, but this is a team, in my opinion, that could fit in any generation. If they were in their prime today, and they came into the scene, it doesn't matter what promotion they were in, they would fit right in. And of course, that is number 23, and I gotta find them here, the Steiner Brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner. Now, what's interesting about this tag team is me and Scott Steiner have a lot in common, right? We're both freaks. We're both known as big bad booty daddies, right? Obviously. But more importantly, we share a birthday together, July 29th. Just wanted to share that. Anyways, my favorite match from them was against the Road Warriors. This was an Iron Team tournament matchup. Starrcade 1989. Future Shock. A while back I was trying to find some matches from the Steiner Brothers because I've seen some of their matches at like WrestleManias and some, like I said, some of the older pay-per-views in WWF. And I just thought they were incredible. Scott hitting that Frankensteiner. Just some incredible hard-hitting offense from some of these guys. Some of their stuff was a little stiff, too, to be honest. But I really enjoyed their work. So I went and looked. I was trying to look. And same with another team that's on this list. I was kind of looking around for some like suggestions that people were making, on the internet forum pages or whatever, trying to figure out some matches I could watch. I went and watched this match. It's a really good match. The crowd is extremely hot for this match, and just a fun match. But with Scott and Rick Steiner, the Steiner Brothers, number 23. Number 22 on the list. Oh man, this one hurts a little bit because I missed them so much. I wish they would come back. This is a tag team that's definitely not SAWFT soft, and of course that is Enzo and Cass. Now I know what people are thinking already, right? Oh my God, this guy just put Enzo and Cass over Hart Foundation, over the Steiner Brothers. Is he crazy? Yes, I am. But again, just seeing this team kind of grow from like NXT, like the early days of NXT. In my opinion, the best days of NXT. I love early NXT. And seeing them go from pretty much nobodies to like this like superstar team that people just loved. And it's a damn shame that they never went on to win like the tag team titles. They should have. They definitely deserved it. I would love to see them do some sort of redemption tour and come back to the WWE at some point, or even AEW or Ring of Honor, anywhere. I want to see them somewhere as a tag team. Obviously, Cass is now doing his thing in Impact, which he looks incredible. I'm glad he got himself taken care of. He had some issues going on, and he looks incredible. He's doing great work. I could easily see WWE, because he's right up their alley, try to sign Cass again, but I would love to see Enzo back as well. He's so charismatic. The guy is so good. And I know what people are saying. They hate Enzo, for a lot of reasons, but you can't argue how charismatic this guy was. This guy was great. On the mic, nobody could touch him. He was so good. But anyways, my favorite match of theirs was against the Revival, NXT TakeOver London. And this was in 2016 for the NXT Tag Titles. Such a great match. To me, I don't want to say they're underrated because I think like mostly everybody loved them. Like when you look back at their Monday Night Raw debut after Mania. Just it was so cool seeing the crowd just like be able to chant their entire thing. You know, I am Enzo Amore, and I am like the whole crowd was chanting. You can see some people in the crowd like, what? I don't understand. Like, who are these guys? But the majority of the crowd like was into them. It was very cool. One of my favorite NXT call-ups actually of all time. If not, it might be my favorite. It was really good. Next is number 21. This team, possibly God's favorite tag team, and I said it because they are the Guerrillas of Destiny, God. We have Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and very, very fantastic team. I really, from a wrestling standpoint, they may not be like the best in a technical, position, I guess. Technical wrestling is great. I love, a good technical wrestler. I love fluid wrestling, but to me, it's not the be-all, end-all, right? If the thing about God is Guerrillas of Destiny is I love their presentation, the way they look, the way Tama Tonga moves around. I mean, they're so good. I love their music too. Their entrance music's always really good. I like this tag team a lot. Now, like I said, they may not put on the best, the biggest, best matches of all time, the 5-star classics that maybe some of the teams on this list do. But just from an overall presentation, they look amazing. If you see these guys, as a tag team for the first time, you're gonna get drawn in. You're gonna be like, "Oh, these guys are crazy. This is really cool." My favorite match for them though is gonna be Ring of Honor Manhattan Mayhem 2019 versus the Briscoe Brothers in a street fight for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Very good match. Like I said, love that match. Love God. Not really much more to say about them. I'd love to see God. I don't know about going to WWE because I don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't know if they would be. Most tag teams don't. Let's be honest. WWE don't really care for tag teams too much. Haven't for quite a long time. I don't know if they would really be used well in WWE or even maybe NXT. Maybe NXT. Their tag team division's kind of hit or miss as well at times. I would like to see them in AEW maybe. I mean they're perfect in New Japan for sure, and the occasional Ring of Honor appearance. But I mean, imagine them feuding. With like the Young Bucks or Santana and Ortiz or some of these other like major teams could be really good in AEW. Anywho, number 20 is DIY. That's right, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, number 20. Might be a little low on the list for some people, but when you see some of these other names on this list, I mean, you gotta understand why. Some of the names on this list are a bit higher than them. They weren't a tag team for that long, right? Like they were for like what, a couple years. I mean, but the more incredible thing about them is their story, because like I remember watching them in NXT. Big fan of these guys from like PWG, and I really wanted to see them succeed in WWE. And like for a while, I felt like they were just kind of used as almost like pseudo enhancement talent. They always lose. They would put people over. They would never really make it to that next level. And I started wondering about these guys if they ever would. And I was like, I mean, as long as they're happy, they're making good money, I mean, not a big deal. But then they started becoming a tag team. And it's such a great story from their tag team to the turn from Tommaso Ciampa, which we knew was coming eventually. It was always a matter of, is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen now? And that infamous, the bar where it's like, what do they call that? The logo where they're about to go off the air pops up, and it's like, oh wow, okay, then turn, and then all of a sudden he does, and the bar, like, if I remember right, the bar goes away too. Just so good, so well done. And then their feud as singles wrestlers against each other, possibly the best feud NXT's ever had, and possibly, in my opinion, maybe the peak of NXT, and after that's kind of gone downhill. But just such an incredible feud, and it's such a great tag team as well. And my favorite match of theirs, actually, this is technically my second favorite match of theirs, which kind of spoils something down the in the list later on. But it's them versus the Revival in NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2, 2016 for the NXT Tag Titles. Very good match. Next is number 19. This is a team that you could say is a little proud and powerful. Of course, I'm talking about Santana and Ortiz. And very incredible tag team. I love their presentation. Wish we'd see more of them on AEW, if I'm being honest. They're one of those teams, along with FTR. I really would like to see more on AEW television. I feel like they don't wrestle enough, and maybe they're okay with it. They're like, hell, we're making a hell of a paycheck, kid. Don't don't try to wish more matches upon us. But I think they're so good, man. And possibly, looking at this list, thinking of the tag team scene today, possibly the most underrated tag team right now in wrestling right now, across the board. I think so. I think they're just incredible. Such so fluid, just such a great gimmick. Um, Not really much more to say about them really. They're really really good. My favorite match of theirs is against Best Friends. This is a pretty recent match versus the Best Friends in a parking lot fight. This is on September 16th, 2020 on AEW Dynamite. I'm sure you've seen some clips of this match if you haven't seen the match. If you're a wrestling fan, you're watching this, you probably have seen this match. It's incredible. One of the best straight fights, or parking lot fights especially, that I've ever seen. Just an incredible match. Unfortunately, should I say this? Because I mean, that's spoiled. But Best Friends aren't on my list, but they're really, really good. I really like Trent and Chuck. I think they're really good. Trent Beretta to me is one of those guys that are very underrated as a singles wrestler as well. Would love to see. Obviously, he's injured, so hopefully he gets better soon. But would love to see some more Trent Beretta on my TV screen. Next is number 18, which is kind of an all-American team here. The American. I tried to make some sort of pun. And it was okay. The American Woes, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. I just got to find their picture here. Where are they? There they are. An incredible tag team. For a while, probably the best tag team across the board for a period of time, I would say. It's incredible action. These guys, again, you talk about fluid, technical wrestlers. It doesn't get much better than Dave Richards or Eddie Edwards, let alone both in a tag team setting. It's a shame that their NXT tryout didn't work out so well. I really would have loved to see them on NXT. Obviously, they both went to Impact. That's probably where I want to say they're most known. I mean, probably from a wider audience. Obviously, in Ring of Honor, they were really good as well. They did a lot of good stuff in Ring of Honor, a lot of stuff in Impact. And then obviously they kind of split apart at certain points. David Richards just recently coming out of retirement. I would love to see some more matches from him. Would love to see him. Bring him in AEW. I mean, hell, why not? He's incredible. Eddie Edwards is really good as well. I'm really liking what he's doing in Impact right now. He's kind of like taking the torch from like Tommy Dreamer as like a hardcore wrestler. It's very weird when you see like this smiley-go-lucky, happy guy, Eddie Edwards. It actually used to piss me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Eddie Edwards had a little bit of heat with me at times because I remember in Impact. I can't remember the exact situation, but they were like supposed to be really, really angry, and Davey Richards is pissed off, he's throwing shit or whatever, and Eddie Edwards just sitting there with a big ass grin on his face. I'm like, Eddie, what are you doing, buddy? Come on. But just still an incredible wrestler. Love both of them. But my favorite match from the American Wolves is against Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Formerly, an Undisputed Era, as probably more people know him as, for the Ring of Honor tag titles at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 7 in 2013. Very good match. So next is number 17, and this team is probably considered the greatest tag team of all time, at least from a popularity standpoint, at a certain point in time. It's a team that gives you a bit of a rush. Ooh, what a rush! Talking, of course, the Road Warriors. Put them right there. Again, I know, this is going to hurt some people's feelings. It's going to be like, what? That's the greatest tag team of all time. Again, I didn't grow up watching them. I can go back and watch their matches and appreciate what they did, but it's not quite the same, guys. It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same to me as some of these other teams that I watched from like the beginning of their tag team tandem as they progress through the cards and go up and move to different companies, and I watched them for many years. I can go back and watch several Road Warrior matches, which I've done, and again, it's one of the situations with the Steiner Brothers. I'm like, oh, the Road Warriors are the greatest tag team of all time. Let me watch some of their best matches that people suggest. And the match that I decided to land on here was against Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard for the NWA tag titles, Starrcade 1987 Chi-Town Heat. Now, this is a really, really good match. Very hard-hitting. The crowd is extremely hot for this match. Of course, Road Warriors are known for their Road Warrior pop, which is like, they would consider like one of the biggest pops in wrestling whenever they would come out. Incredible tag team. Great look. I love the way they look. Love their offense. They're really, really good. But like I said, it just doesn't quite have that connection with them as I do some of these other tag teams. But I can't ignore just how good they are, and I do really enjoy them a lot. And like I said, as a kid, I enjoyed playing them in like video games because of how they looked. Obviously, the Doomsday Device, one of the greatest, moves I've ever seen. It's incredible, and yeah, I'm just a big fan of theirs, and great match. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. Number 16 is a team that, well, they didn't just set the bar, because they are the bar. Of course, I'm talking about Cesaro and Sheamus. Now, I mentioned earlier with Kane and Daniel Bryan that there might be some other tag teams that are kind of thrown together. Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano can kind of argue that they did the same, but obviously it led to a much bigger singles feud between the two, and they were tag team for a little while. But of course, the bar was also in a situation where they were in a, was it a best of 7 or a best of 5 series? I can't quite remember, but they were in some sort of best of series, and it ended up making they ended up tying, I think. And Foley, who was the general manager at the time, was like, you know what? I did say the winner would get a title match, but I didn't say what kind of title match. It's going to be a tag team title match. So they reluctantly became a tag team, and they became a really good tag team. They had some really great matches. Some of the best tag team matches of the current generation, in my opinion. I really enjoy their work, but my favorite tag team match from them was actually against the New Day at Roadblock 2016 for the Raw Tag Titles. Incredible match. Incredible team. Cesaro, much like Kane, I didn't mention this with Kane, but Kane is also kind of in this category as well. One of those guys that could just gel well with just about anybody and make some incredible tag teams. You got Cesaro and Chris Hero. They got the Kings of Wrestling. You have Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. I almost said TJ, but Tyson Kidd, because TJ Wilson's his name. Him and Tyson Kidd, and then him and Sheamus, just incredible tag team. And then of course, Kane. You had Kane and X-Pac, Kane and The Undertaker. I think Kane and Big Show was a tag team for a minute. I mean, Kane's been in a lot of tag teams as well. And I almost put Kane and X-Pac on this list because I love Kane and X-Pac, but I couldn't quite fit it on there. I had couldn't really get a placement for it, with these other tag teams in here. So I decided, I got to pick one or the other between Kane and Daniel Bryan and Kane and X-Pac. Had to go with Kane and Daniel Bryan. Anyways, the Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus, a fantastic tag team indeed. Next is number 15, a team that, again, may be considered a thrown together tag team at one point, but was a tag team for quite a while. And if they came together again, I think people would be pretty happy about it. And of course, that is Beer Money! Robert Roode and James Storm. I just got to find their picture. There it is. Of course, they were singles wrestler at one point. Actually, Bobby Roode was in Team Canada at one point, and then James Storm was teaming up with Chris Harris, Wildcat Chris Harris, as America's Most Wanted, and they ended up becoming a tag team at some point. And then, of course, they had a singles feud as well, and then they came back at some point. Was Beer Money again. Was kind of disappointed that James Storm's NXT run was very, very short. It was a week long. Because I was kind of hoping maybe they'd put them together. Now, obviously, Robert Roode, Bobby Roode is in a tag team with Dolph Ziggler currently, and I do like the Dirty. They call the Dirty Dogs. I do like the Dirty Dogs. I was thinking Top Dogs, but I think that's because on commentary, Pat McAfee keeps calling them the Top Dog, the Dirty Dogs. So, Robert Roode's a good tag team guy. I like him as a singles wrestler as well. Had a great run in Impact. But man, Beer Money, such a great tag team. They just worked together. Even though they were thrown together, it just worked. It was one of those things that just worked. And they were a tag team for quite a while, a couple different runs. So even though they were thrown together at one point, I would still say that I would consider them a tag team and a very good tag team at that. So next we have another two guys who are kind of thrown together at one point, but man, have they been a tag team for a long time. It's a team that may have had a bad influence on the tag team scene at one point. If you watch them in the ring, you might be addicted. The addiction. Of course, I'm talking about SCU, Kazarian, and Christopher Daniels. Again, they've been a tag team for quite a while. As I mentioned there, they were bad influence, the addiction, and then SCU at one point. Such a great tag team. I didn't mention. Oh, actually, back up real quick. Beer Money. I didn't mention their match that I had listed on here. It was a best of 5 series they were having with Motor City Machine Guns. And it was the last match in the best of 5. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match, August 12th, 2010 episode of Impact. Incredible match. Sorry about that. I got ahead of myself there. But Daniels and Kazarian, their match that I picked was another Motor City Machine Guns match, but also against the Young Bucks. This is when they were the Addiction. And this was at Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza 2016 Ladder War 6 for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Incredible match. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. Great tag team. I'm sad that they've kind of broke up. Obviously, Christopher Daniels, he's getting up there in age. Is pretty much retired at this point, and rightfully so. He definitely deserves to retire on his own terms, and this was an incredible tag team. Maybe one day we'll see them as a tag team one more time. Who knows? Wrestling and retirements, hey, retirements and wrestling, hey, So the next team, number 13, is a team that's always pounding ass. Of course, I'm talking about the APA, the Acolytes Protection Agency. Now, these guys were great. More so, I remember them more for their segments than their matches. I was trying to remember some of their great tag team matches. So I was like Googling. I was like, what's some of the APA's best matches to kind of refresh my memory a little bit because it's been a long time. And I couldn't really find too many people mention some of their matches, but I did find one that was really good. And I do remember this match. But they're more of a gimmick than they were as in tag team wrestlers and matches. But just so many fun segments backstage with them playing cards, people hiring them to go beat up people, or them just beating up people for fun, bar fights. So many great moments with the APA, of course. Bradshaw and Farouk, such a fun tag team, great, maybe possibly one of the greatest theme songs of all time. But the match that I chose here was versus the Hardy Boys and versus Edge and Christian, Raw, May 15th, 2000 for the tag titles. Great match, love that match, and I advise you guys to check it out. Next is number 12, and this is, of course, the Lucha Bros, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. There they are. And the match that I chose for them, just a great tag team. They're brothers in real life, and just very exciting. The things that Rey Fenix can do in the ring on those ropes is incredible. Just so precise, some of the most insane aerial moves you've ever seen in wrestling. Pentagon Jr. great presentation, looks incredible. Just a fun wrestler to watch. But the match I chose for them was from 2016. It's PWG Battle of Los Angeles Night 3 versus the Young Bucks for the PWG Tag Titles. Incredible match. I advise you guys to check it out. Not really much more to say about them, but I love the Lucha Bros. Such a great presentation. Number 11 is a team that's incredibly positive. You could say they run off the power of positivity. Yes, I'm talking about the New Day. And this is the team I mentioned earlier about when I was talking about the Shield. I mentioned that there would be a team on here that's a trio, but they're still more of a tag team. The reason why I decided the New Day are different than the Shield, and this is pretty obvious, I think, is because when they were tag team champions, was it 8 times now that they were tag team champions? They would alternate who would defend them and who would wrestle for them between Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and of course Big E. Eventually, now, they kind of split the New Day up. Big E's on SmackDown. Kofi and Xavier are on Raw, and they're a tag team together. Big E is doing a singles thing. Excuse me. But ultimately, I still consider the New Day the trio. But I do consider them a tag team. They just did the Freebird rule where they can wrestle with any combination of the 3. That's all. They're still a tag team, and they're very, very good. Had so many incredible matches. Definitely held down them and the Usos, and obviously that's a bit of a spoiler on what my match that I chose for them are. But they kind of held down the tag division for WWE for quite some time, I feel like. And then you can mix in the bar in there as well. Such an incredible trio of tag teams there. But my favorite match of the New Day, and this is actually my second favorite match of theirs. We'll get to that in a minute. Similar with DIY. But it's the New Day versus the Usos, the SummerSlam 2017. SummerSlam, how appropriate. Pre-show. Probably the greatest pre-show match in WWE history. And it's incredible that this was a pre-show match. And these guys obviously took offense to that. Because they went out there and possibly had the greatest match of the night. And it was on the pre-show. So, for those who may not be familiar with what pre-shows are, because maybe you don't watch wrestling, or used to watch wrestling, or maybe you don't really watch WWE, but pre-show matches are basically like matches before the actual pay-per-view goes on, and they're usually free. It's kind of like an incentive to buy the WWE Network or the Peacock Network now, so that you can watch the pay-per-views. So they put it on like YouTube. I think they might put it on Instagram as well, and a few other different like websites and social media platforms. And basically, you watch this match for free, and they'll try to sell you on the pay-per-view. It's basically what they do. But they weren't on the actual card for SummerSlam. And they should have been, because this was an incredible match. But it's okay. They get to wrestle several times, so they get rewarded anyways for such a great match. Number 10 is another team of brothers. Obviously, we had Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. And do we have any other? Because there's a couple teams on here that are brothers. I guess Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. They're brothers. They're the sons of Haku. And that, of course, is Mark and Jay Briscoe, the Briscoe Brothers. Them boys. Big fans of the Briscoes here. Love their look, love their presentation. Just a couple of wild boys. Um, I mean, you can't really see this picture very well. Well, I guess you can. Zoomed in on the screen over here. You can see they look pretty crazy. That's because they are. They wrestle like they're crazy. They're chicken farmers by day, wrestlers by night, and just a very fun team to watch. My favorite match is actually a match that happened this year. It's not even a tag team match. I'm going to mention it, but then I'll mention a tag team match as well because it's a tag team list. But I just wanted to mention this because it's such a fun match. It's Jay versus Mark in the Fight on the Farm 2021. It's on their YouTube page, the Ring of Honor YouTube page. It's them fighting each other on their chicken farm. Their dad's there kind of moderating the match. It's incredible. I'm not going to spoil anything. Just watch it. It's a lot of fun. As far as like some of these like cinematic matches, and I only call it cinematic because it's not in the ring and it's pre-taped. But so it's not really like crazy like a cinematic. It's not like AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, but it's just a lot of fun. Very fun match. But the tag team match that I chose for them was at Ring of Honor Best in the World 2018 versus the Young Bucks. A lot of Young Bucks on here for the Ring of Honor tag titles. Very good match. And you can pick a lot of their matches, the Young Bucks, and you can put that on this list as a favorite match, or so many different teams versus the Briscoes. But really enjoy them as a tag team, and it's a damn shame they didn't really go to bigger pastures. But you know what? They've been holding down Ring of Honor for quite some time, and they've been doing a hell of a job doing it as well. Love watching them on Ring of Honor. One of the only reasons, in my opinion, that I've watched Ring of Honor in the last few years. Love them. Next is number 9. It's The Revival, or FTR, depending on where they're located or where they're wrestling at. I put them on this list as FTR because it's a current tag team name, of course. Forever The Revival, or Fuck The Revival, if you're watching Being the Elite several years ago. Anywho, it's pretty simple to say they're a great tag team. Just really good in the ring, very technical. Have a lot of old school elements to their wrestling style, and they're very fluid, man. They make some like they're one of those teams that you could put with just about any tag team. They're gonna make them look damn good. I really enjoy FTR, but my favorite match from them is actually against DIY. I mentioned DIY earlier. This is actually my favorite DIY match as well. NXT TakeOver Toronto in 2016. 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Tag Title. Such an incredible match, incredible story, incredible build-up. And it's a damn shame that's probably where they peaked in WWE. Same with, well, not DIY because they had their singles feud, but as a tag team, DIY's peak as well. But Revival could have went on to do bigger things in WWE and should have. It's a damn shame. And really, it's a damn shame how they're using AEW too, in my opinion. I love AEW. But one of the things that I dislike about AEW currently is the lack of FTR and the lack of Santana Ortiz. Put them on TV more, man. They're some of the best tag teams of all time. I love watching them wrestle. But anyways, FTR, number 9, and well deserved. Number 8 is a team that's a bit undisputed. Maybe if you wrestle against them, they'll be chasing the dragon a little bit. And that, of course, is Red Dragon. I mentioned them earlier. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. And, of course, they were in the Undisputed Era before they broke up. But they were also a tag team on Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, as Red Dragon. I think they wrestle on PWG quite a bit as well as a tag team as well. But the match that I've listed here for them is actually All-Star Extravaganza 6 versus the Young Bucks. 2 out of 3 falls for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Incredible match, incredible team. Not much really to say about them beyond that. Number 7 is another team I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the New Day, of course. When I say ooh, you say oh, ooh, so, Usos. A lot of people actually consider them the best tag team of today's generation. That's quite possible. They're up there for sure. Incredible tag team. Obviously, again, real life bros, twin brothers, actually. And sons of Hall of Famer Rikishi, if you guys remember Rikishi. And actually, Rikishi follows me on Twitter, and so should you. At Maverick Mark Daniels. But that's neither here nor there. But the Usos are incredible. Obviously, the work they're doing now with Roman is incredible as well. But the match that I chose here was another match against the New Day, but this was in Hell in a Cell in 2017. One of my favorite Hell in a Cell matches of all time, honestly. They did some creative spots in that match. They worked really damn hard with the New Day, and just such a lovely match. I love it. But yeah, the Usos at number 7. Number 6 is a team that was pretty innovative and probably, if you look at the current climate of tag team wrestling, these guys are probably a big influence on that. And of course, That is Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Credible tag team. They've kind of made their comeback earlier. Was it this year or was it last year? Man, this whole last year and a half is kind of blending together for me. I'm sure you guys could feel the same way. But they had a bit of a comeback at one point in Impact, which was really cool to watch. But my favorite match of theirs is actually against the Briscoe Brothers yet again. 2008 Ring of Honor Return Engagement, very incredible match. But again, you could put the matches against the Generation Me, aka the Young Bucks, on here. They were incredible. You could put the Motor City Machine Guns against multiple different teams on this list, and I would definitely accept it. Love watching them wrestle. They're so fun to watch. So innovative, like I said, and you can probably thank them for like the current crop of tag teams we have today. Them and the Hardy Boys, probably the most influential on today's climate. Anywho, number 5 is a team, if you haven't heard of them, well, you guys better call somebody. Of course, I'm talking about the Road Dogg Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn, the new Age Outlaws. And this should be no surprise. If you watch my top 25 favorite wrestling list, Billy Gunn was pretty high on there because Billy Gunn was my first ever favorite wrestler I ever had when I got into wrestling. And I love this tag team. Obviously, I use some of their shtick as part of my intro when I intro my videos. So they obviously influenced me in a way as well. Big fan of the New Age Outlaws. My favorite match of theirs was probably, well, first my favorite moment, which led into my favorite match of theirs, is when they pushed Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, Terry Funk, off the stage in a dumpster, right? Which then led to their dumpster match at WrestleMania 14. Incredible match, incredible build up to it. They did this is another team like I mentioned with Enzo and Cass, and it's very funny because they're very similar. Same with AP as well. They're kind of more of a gimmick. They have the catchphrases. They were fun to watch. They weren't necessarily technical masters in the ring, but they didn't have to be. They got to do their stuff, and it worked, man. The crowd loved it. I loved it, and I still love it. And they're one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Number 4 is a team that when they wrestled, they would get a lot of wood. Of course, I'm talking about Devon Dudley, Bubba Ray Dudley, the Dudley Boyz. Very incredible tag team. Obviously, pretty much the innovators of tables matches being brought to WWE. And you see people use tables everywhere, and this tag team is pretty much what kind of brought them to the mainstream. And man, love the Dudley Boyz. So many great matches with them. And my favorite match with them, this should be no surprise, and you're going to see a lot of repeats here in a second. I'm sure you can guess who's going to be in this final top 3 here. But Dudley Boyz, it's WrestleMania 2000, my third favorite Dudley Boyz match. We'll get to the others in a minute. WrestleMania 16 is a triangle ladder match for the tag titles against Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boyz. Incredible match. What more can I say about it? So many different innovative spots with the ladder. Just carnage. If you ever want to watch car crash wrestling, this is what it is. And it was incredible to watch. Number 3, and this is going to be controversial because to some people this is either the greatest tag team of all time or the worst tag team of all time. And of course, I'm referring to Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. Of course, I hovered over that Matt there for a second to make you think maybe it was somebody else. But obviously, again, a team that's heavily influenced by the Hardy Boyz, maybe the Rockers, Motor City Machine Guns. Incredible tag team. In my opinion, I love the Young Bucks. Honestly, in AEW, I'm not as big of a fan of them as I was in watching them in PWG or Ring of Honor, New Japan. The AEW stuff is okay, but not nearly as good as that stuff. And they've had some incredible matches in AEW, but don't get me wrong. It's just their current, their gimmick isn't quite working for me, really. It's kind of cringy, but it's okay. I still love them. But for a while, I felt like on the indies especially, the Young Bucks kind of carried tag team wrestling. And you can say, what? There's no way. But that's just my personal opinion. I really enjoyed the work the Young Bucks were doing out there. So many incredible tag team matches. But in particular, one of my favorite, actually is my favorite tag team match of theirs. And this is actually a more recent tag team match as well. I've mentioned their names quite a bit in this list. So there's a lot of earlier tag team matches of them as well that I love. But my favorite tag team match of theirs currently is against the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, at Strong Style Evolved 2018. Such an incredible match. I definitely advise you guys to watch it if you haven't seen it. So good. Whew. We're at the final 2 here, boys. Let me just take a quick swig of this here Pepsi. So, before I talk about number 2, let me just strike a 5-second pose. Get your cameras ready. Of course, I'm referring to a team that reeks of awesomeness. I'm talking about Edge and Christian. Now, this arguably could be considered the best tag team of all time, and a lot of people do. Usually when you hear the conversation in modern times, who is the best tag team of all time, you hear Edge and Christian, you'll hear the Road Warriors, the Rockers are in the conversation, maybe you'll hear the Young Bucks thrown in there, the Dudley Boyz gets thrown in there. I've even seen the Motor City Machine Guns thrown in there, or the New Day, if you're WWE, would be thrown in that conversation. So, a lot of great tag teams out there of all time. Of course, there's some older tag teams you might throw in there as well. But Heart Foundation's another one you hear as well. But man, I love Edge and Christian so much. But my favorite match of theirs, actually my second favorite match of theirs, is actually from TLC. It's called the TLC 2 WrestleMania X7. Very incredible match. But let's talk about my favorite tag team, which is also in the conversation. I didn't mention them because I didn't want to spoil, but I mean it's pretty obvious. The best tag team, in my opinion, my favorite tag. Well, I don't want to say the best tag. My favorite tag team of all time, the Hardy Boys. How could it not be? If you watch my top 25, you know that Jeff Hardy is probably my favorite singles wrestler of all time. And the Hardy Boys, easily my favorite tag team of all time. I wanted to be Jeff Hardy so bad as a kid. I did. So bad. I wanted to be Jeff Hardy. Such an incredible team, so innovative. Again, you see a lot of teams today and yesterday. Honestly, teams of like the mid 2000s, late 2000s to now, very influenced by the Hardy Boys. Obviously, the Young Bucks heavily influenced by the Hardy Boys as well. People consider them as one of the best, if not the best tag team of all time, or the best tag team today. However you want to say it. But man, I love the Hardy Boys. So many incredible matches. But the match that I chose here, my favorite match, it's another TLC match. Go figure. SummerSlam 2000. How appropriate, because this is a SummerSlam list. SummerSlam 2000, first TLC match. And I also wanted to mention one of my favorite moments in wrestling history, period. But possibly my favorite memory of the Hardy Boys is when they returned to WrestleMania 33. And the funny thing is, I knew that they were coming. I knew they were coming because they had that match, I believe, the night before against the Young Bucks. It was pretty obvious. Once they lost that match, it's like, okay, they're coming. They're coming back, baby. But just to build up with the New Day tease and then it might be them because they were the hosts of WrestleMania. They were in their wrestling gear, but it was actually the Hardy Boys. That reaction, I was marking out like I was like crazy, man. I was a kid again. It was incredible. But yes, guys, this is my top 25 favorite tag teams of all time. I love, like I said, I love pro wrestling. SummerSlam is tomorrow when you watch, when this video goes live. NXT on Sunday. We'll see what happens on Friday. Today, the day this video goes live, and on Rampage, we'll see CM Punk come back. This could be an incredible week of wrestling. Very excited for it, and very excited for SummerSlam. SummerSlam should be good. And not really much more to say. I'm going to make some more wrestling tier lists as time goes on. Again, this isn't a wrestling YouTube channel, so I don't want to focus on it too much. But, bigger shows, we'll have some here and there. Maybe at the Royal Rumble, we'll do one. Or maybe Survivor Series. We'll see. If wrestling gets, incredibly exciting with the potential of CM Punk coming back, maybe we'll do some other tier lists as time goes on. We'll see. But thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I'm the Maverick Mark Daniels. Bidding you farewell, peace, and one love. Bang!